Fresh off Rockets training camp day 3, we heard from Silas, we heard from Dante Exum and Christian Wood. Also a glimpse inside Rockets practice. Who looks good? Who's not looking so good? All that coming up right here at Locked On Rockets.
It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This is Mission Control, Houston.
Ignition sequence start.
With the second pick in the 2021 NBA Draft, the Houston Rockets select Jalen Green.
T-minus 15 seconds. Guidance is internal.
I'm going to keep working. I'm going to keep getting better every day. I'm going to keep perfecting my craft. And every time I step on that floor, I'm coming.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What's up, and welcome to another episode of Locked On Rockets, the best and only daily podcast covering your Houston Rockets. As always, I'm your host, Jackson Gatlin, native Houstonian and partner at Apollo Media. Be sure to follow along on Twitter at JT Gatlin, the show, of course, at Locked On Rockets, as well as at Apollo HOU. I am fresh back from my trek down to Galveston to see the Rockets at their training camp day 3 practice. Shout out Galveston, the water as murky as ever. Looks just beautiful. Love Galveston. No, but fresh off, Rockets day 3 training camp, got to take a glimpse at what they were working on, post-practice, just the shots, the drills that they were kind of running, some one-on-one, some shooting drills, that kind of stuff, as well as hearing directly from Silas, Dante Exum, and Christian Wood. So I want to get into I want to run back Christian Wood, his entire little presser. We'll get to that in segment 2. Want to tackle thoughts on what Christian Wood discussed, as well as just some general thoughts on what Dante Exum had to talk about as well in segment 3. But right here in segment 1, I just want to lead with immediate takeaways from day 3 training camp. And I gotta say, first off, I just gotta say, the vibes are just immaculate with this team, right? Like, everybody really genuinely seems to get along at such, they just really enjoy each other's company. So we walk into practice, right? And we don't get to see, media doesn't get to see the actual practice, unfortunately. But we get in, post-practice when they're running some kind of cool down drills, some shooting drills, that kind of stuff, doing a little bit of running at the end and just kind of farting around with half-court shots, which is always fun. Shout out DJ Augustine, who drained a half-court shot, and everybody went wild when he did it. The video's up on my Twitter feed. But they really do get along with each other so well. And I think it's very evident in how they kind of behave with each other, right? So watching some of the one-on-one drills they were doing. First off, Danuel House was absolutely cooking everybody that he was lined up against in these one-on-one drills. I mean, he had easy buckets over Christian Wood, Alperen Sengun, KJ Martin. I think at one point, Anthony Lamb, before Lamb got subbed out in the one-on-one drills. And they were basically running kind of just one-on-one, your turn, my turn sets where they were kind of rotating in and out, so that one guy would play offense, one guy plays defense, and then, he would sit on the sideline afterwards. And it was mainly those three, Wood, House, and Sengun for a little bit, and KJ Martin, I apologize, those four kind of going up against each other, taking turns. And House, was cooking each one of them. There was one point where he had 5 or 6 makes in a row and then finally missed one. I think he got blocked by Alperen Sengun and then came right back and blocked Sengun immediately afterwards on his defensive possession, then got the ball back a couple possessions later, and then had another series where he had 3 or 4 hits in a row. Just really impressive to see. And the camaraderie between these guys, right? At one point when House drained a jumper over C. Wood, he goes, you don't play defense. It was just great to see. They're just really getting after it. They're messing with each other. There was a point where Wood hit a shot over KJ, and as Wood was getting ready to go take the ball back out, KJ just gave him a huge shove in the back, and Christian Wood weighing about 230. He'll talk about his weight. He's actually put on a little bit of weight compared to last season, but he just, goes flying 10 feet the other direction. It was good vibes all around. Got to see a shooting drill involving Josh Christopher, DJ Augustine, Usman Garuba, Kyrie Thomas, and Anthony Lamb. And unfortunately, in that shooting drill right on the front baseline where the media had access, Usman Garuba, the shot looked a little questionable. That's all I'm going to say. He airballed one of them, and I do think that there might be a little bit of cause for concern with just the form, the technique. He might really need to revisit that shot, because right now it does not look super fluid. However, I do have confidence that if the Rockets can work on, can get KJ Martin to a place from where he was at the start of last season with his shot, how he had the hitch in the shot when he brought the ball up, that little bit of a delay in his form. If they can adjust KJ Martin and get him to a place where he was shooting over 40% from behind the arc for a stretch of games last season, I have no worries about them being able to, if they need to, building Usman Garuba's shot up from the, just building it fresh from the ground up and just completely reworking his form, if that's something that they want to do. Because in the Rockets offense, you have to have 5-out spacing, right? The spacing is absolutely integral to what Steven Silas wants to accomplish offensively with these guys. And so I think Garuba is definitely going to have to take that next step as a shooter to be able to find consistent minutes, because we know what he's capable of defensively. Garuba is going to be a one-man wrecking crew on defense. He's going to save a lot of plays. He's going to disrupt a lot of offensive sets from opposing teams. He's going to come up with a lot of weak side help, weak side traps, like all kinds of stuff, right? He is going to absolutely be a terror defensively. The biggest question mark for him is offensively. What is he going to be able to do, right? We saw that little bit of playmaking out of him in Summer League. We saw him kind of operating out of the middle of the floor. But if he can't be a consistent spot-up three-point shooter, at least from the corners, right? Very PJ Tucker-esque. Because there were a lot of times where PJ Tucker caught the ball on in one of the slots or at the top of the key. I was almost preemptively expecting him to brick a shot. I feel bad saying that about Tuck, but he was definitely a lethal corner three-point shooter. And then, from the other, more or less 3 spots on the court, the 2 wings and the top of the key, I was always a little bit hesitant about, him making shots from those areas of the court. But if Garuba can get to a point where he is a lethal 3-point corner shooter, then I have, the sky's the limit for him at the NBA level. He's going to absolutely be making roster, hopefully making considerable rotation minutes as a Houston Rocket for a long time to come. But Steven Silas, spoke to the media too and kind of highlighted a lot of different things. Really just focusing on, right, it's day 3 of training camp, so it's still pretty early, but just really focusing on cultivating the bonding aspect, right? And basically really trying to build that cohesive team environment, right? Talked about doing a lot of team dinners and things like that, really trying to cultivate the right culture, the right atmosphere for this group of guys to let them know, hey, you're not alone, right? Hey, this is basketball. Yeah, this is your job, but it's not the only thing, right? And I think that kind of harkens back to a lot of what Kevin Porter Jr. kind of highlighted during his media day presser, right? Talking about the fact that he and Steven Silas have a connection that is much deeper than basketball, because sometimes, right, you want to get away from your day job, right? And it must be nice for these players to be able to have that little bit of, release that's, to step away from basketball for a minute and just be able to connect with their coach, connect with Silas, connect with Stone, connect with each other as teammates about things outside of basketball. Silas said that they're playing a lot of video games, right? They go out to eat a lot. So really, some strong words from Steven Silas about what he's trying to accomplish here with the Rockets from a culture perspective. He also spoke a little bit about Jae'Sean Tate, which, I know that we just had Kelly Eco on and we were kind of debating the starting spot at small forward for the Houston Rockets, even though Danuel House was absolutely cooking in training camp and was on fire. I still lean the fact that I think Jae'Sean Tate should be the starter. I think he just gives them an unprecedented amount of versatility in that starting spot. And I know that the biggest question mark is, okay, can he be a consistent outside shooter? Because if you've got Daniel Tice, who's already not necessarily a shaky shooter, but not a lethal 3-point shooter as the spacer in a 5-out offense, I'm kind of envisioning Tice being a role man though at times. So I think Jae'Sean Tate should still take that starting spot, and Danuel House kind of being the 1-2 punch alongside Eric Gordon off the bench. Maybe, Tice is the first guy that gets subbed out and House gets brought in, and suddenly they're running and gunning, and you've got House, Tate, and Wood filling up your front court, and you're just, you crank the dial all the way up to 11 or 12, and you just, the other teams are just going to be too gassed to keep up once you slot Wood in at the 5 spot. But talking about, Jae'Sean Tate's flexibility, his versatility, basically playing him at almost every position, throughout camp so far. He's basically played positions 1 through 5. He can handle the ball. He can guard bigs. He can switch everything. So really, I mean, Jae'Sean Tate, Silas basically said he doesn't want to put him in a box, right? He doesn't want to say, oh, he's just this or he's just that. He views Jae'Sean as, quite a versatile piece that he can kind of plug and play wherever. So it'll be interesting to see who actually takes that 5th starter spot. I really still think it should be Jae'Sean Tate, but I also wouldn't sleep on Danuel House as a potential selection for that role. Now, coming up, I want to run back Christian Wood's media availability, his full little, sit down with us, with the press, with the media. There we go, words. And we'll get there after a quick message from our friends over at Indeed. Because look, general managers ask questions to find the right players. Like, do they have ice in their veins? And when you're hiring, you can use Indeed assessments to help make sure you find the candidates with the skills you need, right? Ask the right questions. When hiring gets hard, you need Indeed, the job site that makes hiring incredibly simple. Just, go on to Indeed. You can attract, interview, and hire. In fact, with Indeed, you can do all of your hiring in one place, even interviewing, all in one spot. It takes the hassle out of the hiring process. So don't just hope your perfect candidate will find you. Indeed's hiring tools help you cut through the noise to hire faster and smarter. In fact, Indeed Instant Match provides a list of quality candidates whose resumes are on Indeed the moment you post a sponsored job. So get started right now with a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your post at Indeed.com/locked. Again, that is a $75 credit at Indeed.com/locked. Indeed.com/locked. Offer valid through September 30th. Terms and conditions apply. And another message from our friends over at Built Bar, because look, when it comes to protein bars, you've got to get the right protein bar, right? And if you've never had a protein bar that you've really enjoyed, you've got to check out Built Bar. They are the best protein. Look, this is the best Houston Rockets basketball podcast. They are the best protein bars on the market, right? So they go hand in hand with each other. They've got so many flavors to offer, right? Cookies and cream, strawberry, salted caramel, double chocolate. Can't go wrong with a single flavor on their menu. Coconut brownie chunk is my personal favorite. And the best part is, right, every single bar is low cal, low sugar, high protein, high fiber. Great if you're on a keto diet. Great if you're trying to lose weight. Great when you're just running out the door in the morning, right? Sometimes it's not even when I'm headed to the gym. I might just grab a couple Built Bars because I don't have time to grab a breakfast or something. And they're great, like little meal replacements, honestly, sometimes for me. And you can check them out. Just visit built.com and use promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off your very next order. Again, that's promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com. And continuing on here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. Let's go ahead and play back Christian Wood's media availability, and we'll dive into that, and then we'll talk about kind of some of the points that he hit on during his media availability. So let's dive into that right now.
Feel very different your second year with this team and with this role?
Yeah, a lot different actually. I said before in the press conference, I feel like I'm embracing more of a leadership role, so that's really the big difference for me.
How about in your own game and your ability and maybe more knowledge that you can do the things you want to do? Have that advanced, having had a year doing it?
No, not really. I always had the same mindset, just attacking the game. I think I just want to be so much involved in my teammates, get my teammates more involved in the offense, and then, being that communicator on defense with Daniel. So just doing that and trying to help the team.
How's it been with Dan, just being with him now, like 3 days in camp now? How's it been to see how he operates?
It's good. We've been playing together. He's been great on the defensive end, so I can see how we can play together. We've been switching on ball screens and stuff like that. And he's been guarding 1 through 5 just the same as me. So it's good to have a guy like that.
Hey Chris, you talk about the one-on-one you had and the competition level. Is the all-star version of you dominating your training camp?
No, I'm not all-star mode yet, but I think I'll get there. So we're still waiting for that. In the beginning of the season, I'm gonna go out and give 100%. But I need game reps. So once I get those game reps, I'll be good to go.
It's only been one practice, but what do you think of how Shingu looked in his first practice?
It looked good. We didn't get to really do much today, but a bunch of shooting. I got to play with him for the first time in one-on-one, so it was good. He has great footwork. He's good at using his body. Reminds me kind of a smaller Jokic, so he looks good out there.
Coaches talked about how competitive this group gets, especially because they're so young, full of energy. How are you seeing that, not only at practice, but then afterwards when you guys are just going through drills, almost for fun?
I love it. Everybody has that competitive edge, and it's just good to have on a young team. You don't really see that a lot, especially with young guys. But we get out there and we compete. Everybody you don't have to worry about everybody going out there and not giving 100% effort. You know, I feel like since training camp has started, all the young guys have been giving 100%, and that's really what's going to make us better.
KPJ got kind of thrown into the deep end as a playmaker last year. What impressed you about him, and what do you hope to see from him this year?
I mean, he's always been a great playmaker to me. He's always had great passes, even last year during the season. I think that's just one of his strengths is he can make plays for others, and I think he's going to do great, you know, playing alongside me and Jalen. So to put him at that one spot, I think he'll do a good job.
How does he help your game?
You know, he gets me involved in pick and rolls, pick and pop. I think I'm one of the best pick and roll, pick and pop big men in the league. So I think with him along my side to be able to make that playmaking, it's going to be great.
As a pick and roll partner, how are both guards going to be with you, Jalen and Percy?
I mean, Jalen's more of the scoring guard. We need him to go out there and just, you know, focus on that. And KP, you know, is more going to get the team orchestrated and stuff like that. And I'm the same out there. I'm out there for a reason, trying to get the team orchestrated. I think I'm the guy between me and DT that's going to have the most years in our starting lineup, so it's going to be great.
Hey, listen, so we talked about playmaking, very strong playmaking. How much of the playmaking work inside the training camp?
A lot. You know, I've been passing out of double teams. I've been passing out of doubles in the post. You know, just stuff that coach has been throwing at me that he thinks I'm going to see in the season. And I've been doing, I think, a great job of just getting my teammates involved.
You mentioned you want to.
Exit interviews that you want to spend the offseason working strength and get stronger. How has that gone?
Good. You know, I'm 230 now. I think to start the season I was 220, so I've definitely got heavier in my strength and stuff like that. Just to be able to bang with guys. I know I'm going to be guarding 5s and 4s majority of the time, so I think I'm ready for that this season.
Christian, how prepared? Oh, I apologize.
To have Danuel Tice, if he starts and whatever amount of minutes you get at the same time, how does that help you be able to free you to do the things you want?
It helps me a lot. You know, I don't have to. You know, I think it's going to be more traditional guarding bigger 5s. I don't have to, you know, bang as much. I get to guard. You know, I think more so my position, which is 4. Even though I consider myself positionless, I think I'll be playing 4 this year. He helps me out a lot defensively.
Christian, kind of following up on that, you know, how do you feel you're at right now defensively, and what do you think is the kind of defensive ceiling of this team?
I think I'm better than I was last year defensively with my ability to be able to switch 1 through 5 and, you know, being able to drop and pick and rolls. That's what I think coach is going to throw at me this year. I think I'm going to be better than I was before.
You mentioned, you know, you want to take a bigger leadership role in this team. What does that look like? How do you go?
Just communication, telling everybody where to be. You know, KP's only 20, Jalen's, you know, young too. You know, we have a young lineup, a young roster. So, and I was the guy to, you know, have one of the most years and being one of the better guys on the team. So, just being that leader to show them where they are on the floor, defensively and offensively.
Defensively, do you prefer switching, or do you like dropbacks with it?
It doesn't matter. I've been working on defensive, you know, assignments to where I can do both. So it doesn't matter.
Thank you.
Yep.
And of course, that was Christian Wood's full media presser. If you didn't catch it, you know, it's right here. I'm sure some of the clips have probably already made their way into the Twitter sphere. And we'll get you guys a peek behind the curtain here. All right, because everybody, you know, you see the media clips on Twitter, right, on the social media landscape, and I got the yips. So I'll be upfront with you. It's been a minute since I've been in a traditional like media scrum because of COVID, right? Like COVID derailed, you know, the 2019-2020 season. And then this past season was just a train wreck because of COVID. There's so many different precautions, all this stuff. Everything was remote. Everything was via Zoom. And so everything was done differently as far as like interacting with players and press interviews and all this stuff. It was all done through Zoom mostly. And it was a very like coordinated formal process where it's like, okay, we're going to pick one person at a time to ask a question. You raise your hand in the Zoom. Like it's all very, you know, organized. And it's honestly, it feels like a bit of a more streamlined process but I will say I did miss the traditional like media scrums, but I forgot like kind of they're a little cutthroat at times, right? Because you've got all the media kind of, you know, gathered together 10, 15, sometimes 20 people in a space around, you know, 1 or 2 players, and everybody wants to get their questions in and nobody's going to get their feelings hurt. But it's just been a minute since I've been in a traditional media scrum since like 2019. And at one point in that video, you can hear me start to get a question in, and I just conceded. I was like, you know, I conceded to Jonathan Fagan. who will hopefully be joining us for a guest spot on this podcast very soon. I can't wait to bring Jonathan on the show. That's going to be really exciting to hear some of his thoughts on the Houston Rockets headed into this next season. But I conceded, and it was just one of those moments where I was like, I just got the yips. And so little peek behind the media curtain onto how all of that takes effect when you're trying to interview players and ask questions and that kind of stuff. But coming up, want to share some thoughts on what Christian Wood had to say, as well as thoughts on what Dante Exum shared in his media availability as well. And we're going to get there after a quick message from my friends over at betonline.ag, because look, we are back and better than ever. All eyes are on the gridiron as teams are back for another football season. You've also got basketball right around the corner. MLB headed into postseason. They've also got you covered for UFC, MMA, hockey, you name it. They've got it over at BetOnline. BetOnline is your number one spot for all the odds, props, and contests that you could ever imagine. They are the number one source for everything that you could ever imagine. Head over to their website and sign up today using promo code LOCKEDON or NFL100 for a 100% welcome bonus on your very first deposit. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDON or NFL100 for a 100% welcome bonus. That is double your initial investment on your very first deposit. From football, basketball, boxing, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. And final segment here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. So let's start with, before I circle back to Christian Wood, let me just start with a couple of the points, the comments from Dante Exum. So Exum kind of talking about, took a moment to talk about his free agency process, said it was kind of grueling, going through the free agency process, but ultimately came to the decision that he really likes what Houston is trying to put together here, and, was really confident in what they're trying to accomplish, and thinks that this is a really great place for him to kind of prove himself again, right? He took a moment to highlight the fact that, does he need to really prove, what he's capable of this season? And I think this, has an opportunity to be kind of a bounce back opportunity for Dante Exum, health permitting, which he said that he's, as healthy as ever. Body feels really, really good. And he talked about some of what really makes this team unique. And, it was the idea that he basically said anybody on this roster at any point, because I asked him about what, how he felt he was getting up to speed with how Silas wants to play, because Silas wants to play fast. He wants to go, right? Offense and defense. He wants to be able to play with speed. And a big part of training camp is getting these players up to a proper level with their cardio, right? Because a lot of these guys have been doing like the basketball work all summer, right? We see all the summer videos, right? Like shout out the Hoodie Mellow videos that go off every summer. No, but I kid. But seriously, right? We've seen all the videos of like KPJ in the gym with Chris Brickley, like, all the different highlight training videos. Shout out Jae'Sean Tate, all those different videos with all their different, personal trainers and everything. Basically, they do a lot of skills work, but not enough cardio over the summer. So a lot of training camp is getting their cardio to where it needs to be. And then even like, right, basketball, it's like the first like month or so of the season is working yourself almost into NBA basketball game shape, because there are no substitutions for real live game reps. So I asked Dante Exum how he felt his body was getting up to speed with how fast Silas wants to play. And he said he feels pretty good about it, and kind of been, following up on that, kind of discussed, what makes this team really unique is the idea that, anybody on this team can grab the ball and go. So the goal is for, them to get a defensive stop, or if they can't get a stop, right, they're going to snatch the ball out of the net and then immediately inbound it and get running, so that they might even get some opportunities in transition after a made bucket. And the fact that he kind of highlighted that, anybody can get the board and then go in transition fits with kind of what we saw last year, right? We saw Christian Wood bring the ball up at points last year, right? And I think that kind of lends itself to an environment or an attitude for the team where it's a kind of like an everybody eats idea, right? So it's not, okay, somebody got the rebound. Okay, let's find, who's the guy that we have to get the ball to? Like, okay, where's Harden, right? Where's LeBron? Where's Luka? It's not one of those, right? And even though Kevin Porter Jr. is going to handle the ball a fair share, a fair majority of the time as the lead point guard, Jalen Green's going to have the ball in his hands a lot. Christian Wood is going to be the focal point of the offense at times. I don't think there's going to be this like de facto, okay, board has been secured. Who am I looking for the outlet pass? And we're so accustomed to that from Rockets basketball for years during the James Harden era, right? And it was a little bit different with the stints with Chris Paul and Russell Westbrook, where those guys could, secure the rebound and sometimes the outlet would go to one of them. But it really does feel like any one of the 5 guys on the court for the Houston Rockets have the ability to take the ball, put it on the floor in transition, and try and create something for the team, trying to create an advantageous possession in transition, running with speed, really trying to activate that part of their game plan. So great to hear from Dante Exum there. And then Christian Wood kind of coming back, and basically we kind of assumed this from media day, and it kind of felt that they basically locked in the 5 starters on media day, talking KPJ, Jalen Green, Christian Wood, and Daniel Theis. But Christian Wood also kind of spoke on the idea of, what this team is defensively capable of, and, how Theis is going to help anchor that side of the basketball. And Theis referred to himself as the defensive anchor for this team. So I think it's kind of a foregone conclusion at this point that those 2 guys are going to spend a lot of time together. Christian Wood also going on record saying that he's going to play a lot of time at the 4 this season. So I do think that there's going to be a fair majority of time where one of Daniel Theis or Alperen Sengun are going to be on the court alongside Christian Wood. And I believe, right, if we're being like conservative with the numbers, I bet we're probably looking at something along the lines of like 20 to 25 minutes a night for Theis, somewhere like in the 10, 15 minutes a night for Alperen, depending, and then some kind of level of spot minutes with House or Tate or KJ Martin occupying like the 4 spot, with Wood slotting over at the 5 spot, potentially kind of picking up some of those remaining 5 spot minutes, somewhere in the 32 to 36 minutes a night that he's going to probably consistently play. But it does sound like he's leaning into the idea that he's going to be that 4, and that Theis is going to be kind of the bigger body, center, dealing with some of the bigger guys across the league elsewhere. Wood also commented, right, I talked about it early, but just the competitive edge in practice, the fact that they were going at it hardcore with these one-on-one drills at the end of practice, which weren't like, that wasn't planned. That was extra that they wanted to do on top. They weren't quite done. They wanted to run some extra one-on-one drills. And so they broke up into teams and ran those drills. And once they, felt they got their fill and got their extra cardio in and all that stuff, then they were done. And I think that's one of the coolest things about this Rockets team being such a young, exciting, energized team, right? Is this it, right? This isn't a group of, vets who are just, ready to kind of go through the motions of another season and kind of slog their way to the playoffs. And they're just, we were in this win now mode with this Rockets team for so many years during the James Harden era, where it was almost like you'd start the season and you'd be like, can we just like fast forward to the playoffs? Like we've done this song and dance. And I think it's really important, especially now more than ever with a young team, to appreciate the journey, not just the destination. And, I think there are some fans that struggle with that. I think there are some fans that only focus on the accolades and the wins and the achievements and the trophies and all this, right? I think if you can just sit here and you can appreciate, a stellar highlight play, right? When KJ Martin blocks a 7-footer, when he gets a highlight slam, when Christian Wood, crosses somebody up and drops them for a 3-pointer, or, gets an and one on his way to the basket, elevates and powers over somebody. There's so much to appreciate in any given game. And just also watching the development of these young guys on a game-to-game basis, watching KPJ get better nightly, watching Jalen Green get accustomed to the NBA speed and really, work himself up to the NBA level of play. All of these different storylines, these different ideologies and everything, it's going to be really fun to watch all that play out. So I just want to emphasize, enjoy the journey, enjoy seeing what this team is going to grow into, because Christian Wood's excited. I mean, he came out and he was, talking about, he had high praise for Alperen Sengun, high praise for Kevin Porter Jr., talking about, somebody asked him about his KPJ's ability to facilitate. And Wood was like, KPJ's always been a great facilitator. Now he's just officially in that role, as the lead guard, talking about how easy that makes life for him, right? As a big who loves to roll, who loves to pick and pop, having a guard like KPJ who's able to accurately find him and find spots where he can be effective and successful in the game is huge for him. And then he also spoke about Jalen Green, and he basically just said, "Nah, Jalen's job is to score. We just want him to go out there." And he didn't say get buckets. I was ready for Wood to say we just want him to get buckets. I wish he had said that. But highlighting all these different points from Christian Wood, I think one that flew a little under the radar for me was talking about Alperen Şengün's footwork. And you could see it during their one-on-one drills. Şengün, there were a couple times where he settled for an outside shot, and there was one where he got blocked by Danuel House Jr. because he ran out of time during the 5-second one-on-one drill. But you could see, I mean, the footwork is clearly on display from Şengün, right? He has a very deceptive, a good pump fake out there on the perimeter and a deceptively quick first step. And then once he gets that first step going, he's also got that, he's adept at kind of putting the ball behind his back with a quick like turnaround dribble or spinning, and then utilizing his footwork as he gets closer to the rim to get a shot off. So a lot to take away from day 3 Rockets practice. A lot of great vibes coming out of training camp. And look, we've got the very first preseason game just a few days away. It'll be here on October 5th, Tuesday, against the Wizards. It's going to be an exciting time to see this Rockets ball team back on the hardwood. I'm excited for it. You should be excited for it too. We'll have a couple more shows before then, kind of previewing what we're expecting to come out of that game. But for today's episode, that is going to do it. As always, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for making Locked On Rockets your first listen of the day. And now, go make Locked On Bets your second listen of the day. They've been on fire lately. Go check out Locked On Bets. It's a great show. Lee Sterling, your boy Q, they're killing it over there. Go check them out. But for today's show, that's going to do it. If you haven't yet, subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast, Apple, Spotify, Google, the brand new Odyssey app, free and available on all the platforms. Also, subscribe to our brand new YouTube channel. But for today's show, thank you for tuning in. As always, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And we look forward to having you back right here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball.